Hello and welcome to CLEA'S World. I am Clea, and today I would like to share with you more of the information I've received from the 25th dimension during my last BQH hypnosis session. I'll be reading from a transcript of the session. When I refer to Lorrayne, I'm speaking of my practitioner who's asking me questions I prepared in advance of the session. And when I refer to me, I'm speaking of myself under hypnosis, which means the answers are coming from the 25th. I'm going to jump in here and start reading, but before I do, I would like to thank you, as always, for subscribing, liking, and commenting on this video. It really makes a big difference for me, and it definitely makes me feel like there are still people out there, because as you all know, there aren't many of us left at this point. All right, Lorrayne. Elena would like to know, how do we eliminate resistance? Me, chuckling. They were chuckling. As Claire would say, that's the $1 million question. Resistance comes from, we've just experienced it. We've had an example of it with how you are experiencing what is happening with your body, Lorrayne. This is where resistance comes from, is where we at 3D level, because we do want to be in the game and there's nothing wrong with that. This is what we came for. We disagree, fail to agree with the reality, the way showing up around us. We would like the reality, what we consider reality, 3D reality, to look a certain way, but it doesn't. And so then we believe, I failed somewhere, because this is what we do. This is the recurring theme with you. This is the recurring theme with Clea. This is the same recurring theme with everyone who has a certain level of consciousness, because we know enough to know better that we are creating this, but we don't actually know it. We don't actually feel it. So we feel that reality is really not showing up the way we would like it to. And then we feel like, you've actually used those words, I feel like I'm failing. I feel like I'm missing something. Those are the words you used. I'm missing something. This is where resistance comes from. You've missed nothing. Everything is how you wanted it. The better question is, what would help you, would help Elena get over the resistance part, or Claire for that matter, is to understand, what is it that I don't like here? What is it that I was expecting that's not happening? Why does reality look this way? The problem with us here is that we are very binary. We should say we're very black and white. We expect things to look one way or the other. We don't think of everything that's happening behind the scenes, whereas our higher self, and we were discussing this just previously when we talked about how we have looked at all the possible ways that this could have played out here, and we chose this way. But we chose from a myriad of other options available to us, because everything is possible for the higher self. The question is, why do we choose this option? The fact is, at conscious level, we don't know. We don't know why we chose this option, right? We don't know until we ask the 25th, and the 25th tells us, because it could have been horrible. There were maybe 1,000 other options that would have all been more horrible. So we chose tediousness instead. But at a conscious level, we cannot think what else, because we ignore everything. We live in this little tunnel vision situation. We ignore everything else. We say, well, this is not great. It isn't. It isn't great. We're not here to tell you it's great. I don't think we've ever deceived you on this. We very much know this is not great. That's why we're taking it down. The question is this the best we can do? And maybe you have little ways to correct your reality. We say correct, quote unquote, to make it a little bit more pleasant for yourself. We've discussed this before. Maybe you have ways of compromising with your higher self, or you saying, listen, I understand you're going after this, but I would like to do this thing as well, which is not going to compromise anything over here, okay? But many times we do not know what our higher self is after. And that's really the biggest problem, isn't it? And even if we didn't know, we still wouldn't know how to coordinate what we want with a bigger priority. Or we don't know how what we're experiencing actually already correlates to the bigger priority, because we don't know what's going to happen after. Clea, when she thinks back, she's had situations where, and we're sure you have, we're sure Elena has, we're sure everybody's had this experience, where you look back 5 years later, 10 years later, and you say, wow, how that turned out. You could have never in the moment, in a million years, imagined that something would turn out a certain way. Then you look back and you're like, that makes sense. It was one step after the other. So you see, that's where the resistance comes from, is that something pops up and you look at it, you say, wow, that's not so great. I don't really like that. And you don't know why it's happening. So what's the first thing you think? I failed somewhere. I'm missing something. I don't want to resist it. What is wrong with me? Why am I resisting it? Now, we understand Elena brings being as high consciousness as she is. She's saying, I don't want to resist it. I want to take this perspective that it's happening for a reason. I want to go with the flow, which is a very fair question. Again, it reflects the fact that this is what she's aligned herself with, which is this very high consciousness way of looking at things. And we very much appreciate this of her. At the same time, she's talking about resistance because truly, just like the rest of us, she's still very much in 3D. And at 3D level, we don't see. And really what we're doing is not that we're not seeing, is that we're not feeling into it. So we actually see things, we just don't interpret them because we don't know what, it's almost like there is a fog and there is a whole city in front of you, but you only see this one little thing. While for all you know, 20 feet from you, there are buildings everywhere and people everywhere. You only see this little thing. And that's why we're resisting. We really don't know. We don't know what we're resisting. So what we're saying to Elena, she doesn't want to resist. She wants to trust is what she's saying. She wants to trust. She wants to go along. She wants to know that she's manifesting this and therefore be okay with how it shows up. We commend her for it. It's very commendable. And so we would say to her, go to your higher self. We always say to go inside for your answers. Go inside yourself and ask, is it even important, first of all? Is it even important for you not to resist? What is this resistance doing for you? We will tell you something that you might, and Clea is actually surprised by this because this very much goes hand in hand with what she was discussing this morning, this resistance we're putting up, which is the same resistance you're putting up, for example, to the situation with your sinuses. What is it doing for us? It's keeping us occupied. We focus on this resistance and we don't notice time going by. We don't notice what we're doing. And oftentimes, especially because of the sheer amount of work we do, we need these distractions. And we said this before, a lot of these distractions are low vibration here. So a lot of this has meaning upon meaning, layers upon layers for how these things work out. So first of all, why are you wanting to have this resistance? This doesn't happen by itself because again, there's no separation between you and your higher self. Why are you having this resistance? Where is it coming from? And is it good for you to let go of it? And yes, of course, we want you to not have this resistance and to trust that your higher self is in charge. This is the whole point. We want you to fully accept this, that you are in charge at all times. But then what does that look like? Does it mean all of a sudden everything is rosy, everything is wonderful? That's not what it's going to look like on this planet. We already told you this is never going to look like this on this planet. We have no new earth coming on this planet. And therefore, we're always going to run into things that at 3D level, we're going to think this is solo vibe because this is how it is to be here. So we would say to Elena, as always, and she does this, she already knows this, go inside and figure out what is actually happening with this resistance. When is it showing up? Why is it showing up? And what is the purpose of this showing up? Like, is it doing anything? Is it doing anything for you? And she might think, no, it's doing nothing for me. I don't want it. Just like you're saying, these sinuses are really negative. They're fully negative. I've had enough. But then there is something that is being done for you or they wouldn't be there, very simply. Other people don't have the same issues you have. Why is that? Why do you have that issue? You already know this, Lorrayne, because you're high consciousness. You're very self-aware. Same thing with Elena. She's very self-aware. She just needs to go inside and find out because we're all working on our own energy. There is no energy outside. There's nothing that she needs to learn in terms of, we're going to teach you how to do this. She's an ascended master. The question is, she's bringing it up. So that's already a clue. She's bringing it up because she's not happy with it. So how do we move forward? If she's willing to accept that maybe there's a purpose for it, or maybe there is no purpose, maybe something that's coming up for her to actually resolve, she might be onto something. She might be ready to say, I'm ready to move past resistance. And that's wonderful. But only she knows. Only she can know what that looks like. For Clea, for example, she might need the resistance to keep her occupied. We cannot say, we don't want to say, we always say that the essence is sovereign. We never want to say to Elena, this is what you need to do. We just want her to know that she already knows what to do, which is the reason why she's asking. So she can hear herself, she can hear an answer back, and she can say, I accept that, or I don't accept that. So maybe this is how it is. So she will get everything she needs to get from this answer. She will know exactly what to do with it. And thank you for the question, Elena, because of course I was super interested in hearing this answer too. Lorrayne, thank you. I really appreciate that. Okay, Amy D and Mel both had a leaking toilet, just like another woman at an event with Mel. What's the meaning of this coincidence? And coincidence is quote unquote. This happened on the same day someone put a bullet hole in the roof of Clea's car. What is going on? And can it stop? Does it have to do with Clea programming the water to reach everyone and to recharge people to focus on the recall? So I did that. I did program the water, but I don't need to go into detail because the 25th does, so you'll know exactly what they're referring to. Me. Yes, so no, the reason this is happening is, again, we're looking for ways to distract ourselves. And unfortunately, we're still looking at the low vibrational ways to do this, to keep ourselves occupied. Because the truth is, we're all dealing with the fact that time feels very stretched out. Every day counts. Every day feels like an eternity. So that's the main reason, just like what's happening with Clea's car. It's a way to distract her and to have something outside to focus on. At the same time, yes, it had to do with the water, but why? Because Clea mentioned that. She didn't even need to mention it because, of course, as one person knows something, everybody knows that. But she mentioned it in the group, and therefore all kinds of people thought, water. And they were laughing here. All of a sudden, that's a good way of feeling distracted. Let's have some water issues. So Clea very much thought it's because I programmed the water, which again, why did Clea program the water? Because Kath came up with the idea. She was talking about water, and Clea thought, let's amplify this. Every time anybody comes into contact with water, it's just an intention. Every time somebody comes into contact with water, the recall will get closer. It was a way to percolate this intention. Of course, it works because our intention works anyway. She could have charged the air with it. She could have charged the soil with it. It doesn't really matter how you think your intention is going to work because it will work just because you intend it. So yeah, in that sense, yes, they heard it and they thought, oh, water here. Oh, good idea. Let's use that. So it builds up and all of a sudden we think, oh, that's the cause of that. But really, it's just our imagination latched onto something. But the truth is something was going to happen anyway. And again, you notice these are low vibrational things, but they're also low grade inconveniences. Nobody had a major problem. Even Clea's car issue has been resolved. Yes. Has it been inconvenient? Yes. It's more than inconvenient. It's becoming really tiring for Clea. This is the second time this has happened in 2 months. So she's had to deal with a car. And she's like, I thought we're done with that. Not only a bullet in the roof of your car on top of your daughter's seat, Clea was thinking. In fact, the question is coming up that it's because she hasn't learned her lesson about it being an adrenaline junkie. But no, it's got nothing to do with that. It has more to do with the fact that we're just trying to fill time. This is what we're doing. We are just wanting new experiences, trying to distract ourselves. But really, there aren't that many fun experiences to be had. And to have these low-grade negative experiences happen, what we refer to as negative here, every once in a while, makes us feel like this is still all normal. It's still the way it used to be. I cannot tell you how not happy I am when I hear that I'm trying to entertain myself. That's why I cause all these low-grade inconveniences in my life. I'm like, very tiring. I have to tell you guys, I actually did ask about this in the follow-up session to this, and I will release that as soon as we're through with this session, where I asked, I said, why do we only go to low level or low vibrational things to make us feel like we're still in the game? Why not high vibrational? I know there aren't that many here, high vibrational things, but why not good surprises as opposed to just bad surprises? And they actually had a really interesting explanation for this. And since then, I've learned a lot, and I try not to fall into this trap anymore. So I'll be releasing that soon as well. So hang in there. All right, let's go back. Lorraine, we got to get more creative. All right, thank you. Okay, motivational speeches are meant to motivate us to do something that we don't really want to do, to push us to do our duty, to keep the game going. Is it an idea of the dark? Me. So no, it was actually started in a well-meaning way, which is, come on, we cheer each other up. But the truth is, even that has been corrupted because yes, it's a way now that we have to push ourselves in society, to keep up with the 3D ways of doing things that might be even immoral or unethical, by saying, oh, don't be such a wuss, don't be so emotional. Just keep going because you got to get here and you're doing this because you've got this goal, this dream. Suck it up for 10 more years and then you can retire. So yes, it's been a way for us to engage with this reality. So of course it has become corrupt in the sense that, of course, you have a lot of people who are only interested in money, for example, becoming gurus or whatever it is. They don't necessarily worry about how you feel or how that makes you feel. So in that sense, yes, it's not a particularly dark message, but of course, again, it's the same story. We're all pushing each other to participate in the game, right? Just like when people say, oh, you should drink. Oh, come on, have a drink. Or eat some more, eat some more. We all know how the game works. We all know what is required here to keep the matrix going, or what was required before. You need to go to work. You need to play your role in society. You need to make money, okay? That's very important. We know how important money has been here. And these are all codes really that we're using. So that's another part of the game that we're playing. So no, it was not invented by the dark, but it was so easily used to, of course, keep people in place against their will, if you want to look at it that way. Lorraine, all right. Mel has a question about Oscar the cat. She's moved a couple of times in the last several months, and now Oscar is suddenly behaving very aggressively towards the female cat. She would like to know what is going on with Oscar. Me. Yeah, so Oscar is also, first of all, Oscar himself, his higher self, is dealing with things just like we are. So he's having his own resistance, his own little breakdowns, just like we are. But at the same time, Oscar is also helping her in many ways. And so not only is absorbing a lot of the energy, clearing a lot, just like Tommy, who's my cat, just like Tommy was doing, but he also is keeping her busy, isn't he? We understand she does not enjoy that. We know exactly what she means when she says that her home is a refuge, is a quiet, peaceful place where it's like, it's what we say when we think. Clea very much resonates with this when she thinks of her cocoon, you know, where she's protected from outside reality. So we understand when she says that peace is being interrupted here by what's happening, so that she's building some resentment. But Oscar is not doing this to cause problems. He's not doing this because he's a bad cat. And of course she knows this. We're not saying this to mean that she thinks this of him. We are saying this because she knows he's a good cat. He's always been a good cat. She's had him for some time. The two cats loved each other. He's just doing, first of all, again, he's manifesting some things for her, but also he's just coping with his own energy absorption. He's doing his own work as well. We have to keep in mind our cats are essences like we are. And all the emotions we're going through, not only they're going through them, but they might also at the same time, like Tommy was doing, be going through, we can call them our owners, our guardians' emotions as well. Because this is the reason why a lot of our cats come to us in the first place, is to help us and to reflect back to us. Sometimes the way it looks like is reflecting back to us the issues that we have at an emotional level, and they bring it out through their body. Just like our body oftentimes is showing our emotions, is reacting ways that show us our underlying emotions. So she's going to have to go through this for a little while. Her best, she can cope with this, or she can minimize this by connecting with this higher self and basically figuring out the same work we are doing here when we say we need to go inside and speak with our higher self. She can absolutely connect with his higher self and figure out what it is that he believes he's doing and make him understand he doesn't necessarily have to do that in that way. But again, keep in mind that this is not easy as it sounds, because there might be a very good reason why he's doing that. Even though we might not like the way that it shows up, there might be a very good reason. He might be emotional. It might be, again, because she's emotional and he's trying to give her something external to focus on, just like with the toilets. Do you see? So it doesn't mean this is going to go away immediately, because if there is a very important purpose why he's doing this, then she might have to deal with it for a little while, but there's nothing wrong with it. It's not that something changed. It's not that something is off. It's energy that is displaying. And so she needs to go and connect, which she knows how to do, connect with this higher self or her higher self. I mean, they are one at the end of the day, and find out what is going on over here. Clea knew immediately when she connected with Tommy why he was doing this. And that's why it was so easy for her to let it go. Not because Clea is more advanced than anybody else, but because it was so obvious that Tommy was doing these things that had no business being there. And also there was no purpose to it. Clea was already aware he was doing it to protect her, and there was no value add from it. She wasn't being distracted. She was actually concerned now, and that kind of thing. So Mel has to figure out what is the reason, and when she knows the reason, of course, she can work with it. And the cat might be, Oscar might be okay letting go of that. But this is not necessarily the case, because Oscar is sovereign, just like she is. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.